Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Weather and Radar Meteorologist Becca Parker. I'm going to give it a moment for people to funnel in. If you know anybody that is under the severe weather threat for today, that's going to be across the Front Range as well as the upper Midwest and then into the Tennessee Valley. Please let them know that we're live and go ahead and send the link to this to them so they can get all the latest information, right? We are taking your questions. Go ahead and drop them in the chat if you do have any questions. We will be answering those throughout the chat as well, or throughout the live as well in the chat. And let me know where you're at. Say hi. I'd be happy to see you. And we'll go over the latest information for today's weather, not just severe weather. We've got a lot going on today. So we're going to get to it here. All right. Let me double check and make sure we're good to go. Awesome. Okay. So what you see behind me here is the weather radar. This is currently showing all the information as far as rainfall, lightning, temperatures, cloud cover, and things like that. So this is the current look at the busy weather day we've got going on across the U.S. And we're taking a look at severe weather to start this off so that you can know exactly what to expect this afternoon and this evening as we go about the day. And it's just been about, pretty busy throughout this week too, with flooding, severe weather, and things like that. So we're just going to keep on going for this Thursday. So right now, like you see behind me, we've got these three separate systems that are bringing severe weather. We've got the cluster across the Front Range here that's going to be evolving throughout the day. We've already got the active weather right here across the mid-Mississippi Valley into the Tennessee Valley, which has really just been, kind of keeping going since yesterday, where they've had a lot of flooding issues. And then we've had this renewed flood threat today with really strong thunderstorms here across the Tennessee Valley. Severe weather coming through, 80-mile-per-hour gusts, hail, some damaging winds. Those 80-mile-per-hour gusts, those damaging winds can cause injury as well. So something to be taking a look at. Then we also have the severe weather across the upper Midwest here into Michigan, where there is also a severe thunderstorm watch already out. So before we kick it off, let me double check to make sure there's no questions to start off. Awesome. And be sure to download, if you haven't already, download the Weather and Radar app to follow along with today's forecast. So I can show you the tools that we're going to be using, because you can use them right on your device or even online to be able to learn more about what's going on and know how to use those tools should you be in line for these severe weather events. Okie doke. So like I said before, we've got these three areas that we're watching for severe weather. This is the current look at what's been going on this afternoon. Just turned 2 o'clock here across the eastern U.S. So it's already a busy day so far. So let's take a look at the Storm Prediction Center and what that is showing so that we can get to know exactly what we're looking at for today. All right. So this is the Storm Prediction Center from the National Weather Service. As you can see, we've got a lot of thunderstorm activity that is expected today. We've got as much as an enhanced risk, which is a level 3 out of 5 on the severity scale. And what that means is there's the chance for scattered to numerous severe thunderstorms, including damaging winds, large hail, and the threat for a tornado or two as well. So we've got two separate areas with an enhanced risk, large areas for slight, and then the marginal risk, which is the chance for isolated severe weather, stretches all the way from the Front Range here all the way into the Ohio Valley and Great Lakes and down into the southeast. So a lot of areas that are going to be seeing more severe weather today if they haven't already seen it. So let's take a look at what the threats are that come with these severe weather risk areas. So like I mentioned earlier, there's a possibility of a tornado threat. We do see a 2 to 5% chance here across the Front Range for later this evening. We're going to be seeing a mesoscale convective system. If you ever heard of that or seen the acronym for it, the MCS, what that means is it's a cluster system, a cluster of storms within a whole system. It just means that it's smaller scale. So that's going to be moving pretty quickly across the Front Range here and has the ability to produce a tornado or two later this afternoon and evening. So we're going to see that threat for that come later this afternoon and evening. Same thing with a tornado threat, where we're already seeing that across the upper Great Lakes, or the lower Great Lakes, actually, down here into the Carolinas, where we're going to be seeing possibility for tornadoes. So be sure to have a shelter location in mind if you aren't already under a severe thunderstorm watch or warning, or a tornado watch or warning. You want to make sure you know exactly where you want to shelter, be near it at least if you've not already been issued a warning. So you can go straight to that shelter location, get as many doors and walls in between you and the outdoors so that you're in the best spot to be able to shelter from those tornadoes should they come through. And have at least 3 ways to receive those watches and warnings, just so you have all the information you can get and be best prepared for that kind of situation. Same thing goes for the wind and hail threat. You want to make sure you have as many ways to receive a watch or a warning for those storms because the wind that's going to be coming through with these, like I said earlier, Tennessee Valley is already seeing 80-mile-per-hour gusts in these storms. This is going to be true for especially across the Front Range here and up into the upper Ohio Valley and lower Great Lakes, where we've got these damaging wind threats here. That's at 30%. That we're seeing winds up into the 70, 80-mile-per-hour ranges. And that can do a lot of damage. It can, if you have anything that is outdoors that is not battened down, or if you have anything that can easily be picked up outdoors, that can quickly become a damage item that could cause a lot of damage to items that are outdoors as this updates. Or it could cause injury if it does go flying. So we want to make sure that there's nothing outdoors that could cause injury or damage, just to make sure when these storms are coming through, it's going to be pretty messy if you need that in addition. And then as well as the hail that's coming through as well, we do see a higher risk for hail here across the lower Great Lakes. Hail sizes getting up there into the 2 inch or greater. 2 inches about the size of a hen egg. And if you got that coming down, you don't want to be outdoors, right? You don't want to be outside in that. You also don't want to be driving in that either. That can cause a lot of damage to the vehicle, especially if you're in it. You don't want to have that possible threat for an injury. So that's going to be also coming through with these severe storms. Let me just make sure of something real quick. Alrighty. Awesome. Thank you very much. Yes, day's going well, busy day, right? So we got a lot of weather going on. Yeah, so we're going to keep on going here. Let's take a look at the rain threat that is coming from these storm systems. Let me go over to the Weather Prediction Center. Alrighty. We have 2 areas of a moderate risk for heavy rainfall. I'm going to point out the one here in the Tennessee Valley here first, just because this is a renewed rainfall flooding threat across this area. Just because yesterday, actually Tuesday night into Wednesday, we already had that flooding threat that came through, 6 or more inches of rain that fell in this area, especially across western Kentucky, southern Illinois, and southeastern Missouri, where there's still power outages that have been ongoing and just flooded areas. If you remember Mayfield, Kentucky from December 2021, that had that EF4 tornado. Yesterday, they received a lot of rainfall. A lot of homes and businesses were flooded out. Many rescues had to be made in a town that's still recovering from a tornado that happened less than 2 years ago. So it's been busy across this area. We're still seeing that heavy rainfall threat. That moderate risk, which is that red risk right here, sits across the Nashville area eastward, where they're seeing those severe storms, like I mentioned earlier, 80-mile-per-hour gusts, hail, possibility for tornado, plus the risk for rain. And that's the risk for 3 to 5 inches of rain, locally higher amounts. So got a lot going on in this area. You want to make sure you're prepared. Follow along on the weather radar so you can see exactly where these storms are. Have those 3 ways to receive a warning and make sure you know exactly what to do should a warning come into your area, like that shelter location, like I mentioned earlier. Same thing goes for the moderate risk here across the Front Range. And I mentioned earlier, we're going to be seeing a mesoscale convective system, an MCS, that is going to form here later this afternoon into the evening hours. That's going to have the capability of dropping another 3 to 5 inches of rain across this area as well. Now, the thing with having a moderate risk in this area is that, if storms haven't hit this area in a while, which they have, or it's an area that's experiencing drought, which they are also experiencing drought, it is hard for the ground to soak in that much water all at once, even if you're in an area that received, generally good amounts of rain recently. If that rain's coming down 1 to 2 inches rain rates per hour, it's hard for the ground to soak that in pretty quickly. So if you're in an area where they don't have very great drainage, or it puddles very easy, you're going to see some flash flooding issues across this area. So you're going to want to keep an eye out. If you do have plans to be out and about this evening, it's Thursday, we're getting into the weekend, maybe you have a long weekend coming up. You want to make sure you have those 3 ways to receive a warning, especially a flash flood warning. If you do see a water covering a roadway, turn around, don't drown. There's a lot of people that do try and go across those roadways, and you have no idea how deep it is, or you could, have to call a rescue team, and you don't want to have to do that either and take away. So if you see water covering a roadway, just turn around. It's going to be a pain in the butt, but you want to be able to turn around so that you're not causing any issues for yourself, especially. So That's going to be the issue from this rainfall that's coming from the thunderstorms this evening. And we've got all this up to date on our live blog that's on our app. You can see all of this too in the task force hub that we have going on too. You have all those resources that you can watch the weather radar, have your alerts switched on, and know how to do those on your app, and to be able to watch all these updates as they do come in. So let's double check here. Let me make sure I have my notes of what else we have going on. Alrighty. So one other thing that's going on across the US, if you're not getting rain and you're not getting that flooding issue, you're not getting severe weather, you're likely getting some kind of heat. And that's mostly across the southern tier here, where we have heat advisories and warnings all the way across the southern tier into the west still. Some of these may be for the next couple of days, as well as a high pressure is building across the southwest here, bringing in very warm southerly flow and is making temperatures record breaking across these areas. We've been seeing record breaking temperatures throughout the last several weeks, really, as warm weather has just been sitting across the southern tier here. So we're likely going to be seeing that for these next few days as well, as temperatures continue to be at or above record breaking points. So a lot to keep up with here. And we've got it all in the app. You'll be able to follow along easily and find all these updates right there on your app. And it's totally for free. So you'll be able to find everything you need to know through that. So let's go back to the weather radar here, and let's take a look at what the current look is to make sure that we're not missing anything. And you can know exactly what to look out for if you're in any of these areas that's receiving the heavy rainfall or the severe weather that's moving through today. So I'm going to go to the Tennessee Valley real quick. So this is the most one of the most active areas at this moment. They've been seeing a lot of heavy rainfall and a lot of thunderstorm activity already today. And you see this happening right now. You can see all the lightning that's going through. Those are those yellow and orange dots. When you see the orange dots on top of the yellow, that means you've got a thunderstorm that's producing a lot of lightning. So you got those bigger dots to depict how strong that thunderstorm is and all that lightning that's coming from it. So you can see we just have these storms that are going to be moving across the Nashville area and southeastward through that area as well. These storms do have the capability of producing those 80-mile-per-hour gusts, in addition to that flash flooding like we talked about earlier. Rain rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. So it's going to be a pretty messy afternoon here across the Tennessee Valley, and also getting into the southeast here as the storms do move into that area. Let's move up here into Michigan, where they also have a severe thunderstorm watch active. You can see this low pressure system that is moving across here, and you have this line of storms that's going to be moving through here too. So areas that are coming into Detroit, you're going to be wanting to keep an eye out on the weather radar this afternoon, as you're going to see this line of storms move through. And this is going to move down. Also, activity is going to start forming here along this outflow where you're going to start to see activity move into the Ohio Valley as well. So a lot of stuff is going on currently. And I talked about that MCS all over across the Front Range. Let's take a look at what that's going to look like. Because on the weather radar, you can take a look at what the next day looks like. You can look at tomorrow. You can look anywhere up to 4 days in advance to see what the weather is going to be like in your area or anywhere around the world. So it's really convenient, especially if you want to make plans for the weekend as we're coming up on it. So we're looking at these storms that are moving across here into the Front Range, into the Central Plains already. But let's take a look at what that's going to look like later this evening and into the overnight hours. So this is 3 o'clock Central Time. We're starting to see a little bit of a cluster of storms here, which is going to be forming that mesoscale convective system. And you're going to be seeing that MCS move across this afternoon and evening. And it's going to be moving at a southeasterly flow. So from the northwest to the southeast here, producing heavy rainfall rates, thunderstorms, damaging gusts, hail, and possible tornadoes. It's a busy evening here across the Front Range. You're going to want to be keeping an eye out for that. And we do have that greater chance for tornadoes about right here into east central, southeastern Colorado. This is an area, if you're going to be traveling through that area right here, let's zoom in a little bit just so you can see just how close you can get to as far as the detail. You can see the roadway too. If you have any plans to be moving across this area late tonight, this is Route 50 here. You're going to be wanting to keep an eye on the weather radar so you can have all the latest information so that you're not caught up into a severe storm, possibly a tornado producing one. So that's going to be moving through tonight. This is 11 o'clock, and we're getting to get into midnight as well to take a look at what this looks like. One other thing I want to point out too is with the rainfall that's coming with it, you can track it here either on the weather radar or on the rain radar. Now, the rain radar is really useful, especially if you've got hail producing thunderstorms or even just really heavy rainfall coming from these severe storm systems. So you have the light blue all the way going to dark blue and then purple. Light blue means showers or light rain. As you get darker, the heavier the rain becomes. And that's going to turn into some purple if the rain is pretty much in a downpour. If you do see anything that has a very light pink tone, you're going to notice that there's hail coming from that storm. That's a hail producing storm. So you can also track that throughout the day and through the evening, any time of the year, so that you can have all that information. Let me double check for any questions while we're going through here. Awesome. Yes, Pennsylvania, you're welcome. Luckily today, not too bad as far as the weather, just hot and sticky probably. So let's take a look at one other thing. I mentioned hot and sticky. We are looking at the temperature radar now, which is great. You can also look at this 4 days in advance, so you can get all that information. Plan out your outfits, your weekend, if you need to know if your AC needs to be blasting, things like that. And it's going to be across the southern tier here. So let's take a look at what the temperatures are right now. So you got the 90s and upper 80s here, just draped across the southern US, upper 80s up into Spokane, Washington, upper 70s up into Bismarck, North Dakota, and you got the 80s reaching up all the way up in here in the Northeast. Let's take a look at this pink though. Now, the desert Southwest is used to, 100 plus degrees, especially in July. But one place that we've been watching is Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix, Arizona has broken their record for how many days they make it to at least 110 plus. So they beat that record. I was either Monday or Tuesday. They beat the record of 18 days where they were 110 plus, and it became 19 days. So it's possible that they're already at 110 now for this afternoon. So it's very possible we see them add to that record if it's going to keep going. I haven't kept track of it since Monday or Tuesday. So we're going to be seeing those temperatures continue to be in the hundreds, upper 90s. We've got areas too that are also having low temperatures as record-breaking temperatures because the ground is not cooling off as quickly, and you've got these hot temperatures during the day. So there's just not enough time for the ground to be cooling off and releasing that radiation up into the atmosphere. So it's getting to be very warm during the day and staying warm at night. So no really good relief to have windows open or anything like that. So the AC is cranking. If you have to be outdoors during any of this heat, please be sure you're taking a lot of breaks and drinking plenty of water. Your body gives us all the signals that you need to be able to know exactly how much water you need to be drinking. Even if you're not thirsty, keep drinking that water so you're nice and hydrated. You want to make sure you're not getting into a point of heat exhaustion or heat stroke with this heat. It's going to be easy to get into if you're constantly outdoors. Find that shade, find that AC, get that water. You'll be good to go. Alrighty, I'm going to check for questions one more time here. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and close out for the day. I hope you've enjoyed this live. If you know anybody who, again, is in the line for the severe weather or the heat or the heavy rain, please be sure to share this channel with them. Go ahead and subscribe. It's totally for free. So you can get all the information that you can get. And then also download the app if you haven't already, or just make sure it's updated so you get all the latest information. Alrighty, I'm going to close out here. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.